Welcome to the Idaho Business Podcast, where we talk with local entrepreneurs, share motivation, network with one another, and pick up a tip or two on how not to burn your business to the ground. I'm your host, Spencer Ward. All right, everyone, welcome back to another show. As always, we're sponsored by New Clean Commercial Cleaning, servicing from Twin Falls to Rexburg. If you need any janitorial needs, carpet cleaning needs, stripping, waxing needs, tile and grout cleaning, we are your people. We're your professional toilet scrubbers, and we don't mind saying it. So give us a call, 208-254-7070, and let us make your life easier. We're also sponsored by Health West. Great organization, great people. Trust me, give them a try. They're fantastic. Look up where they're closest to you and go for it. All right, people. Today I was thinking, I've gone through some different experiences in the last year, and it lead me to this topic today. And it's why big opportunities always feel uncomfortable. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had a business opportunity sitting right in front of you? One that could completely change your company, but also made your stomach turn a little bit? Yeah, I have. And I'm sure you have too. Maybe it meant spending more money than you ever spent. Maybe it meant hiring people you weren't sure you could afford. Maybe it meant moving markets, buying a building, or taking a level of responsibility you've never had before. And the crazy thing is, the bigger the opportunity, the more uncomfortable it usually feels. Is this ringing true for you guys? Okay, good. This is why we're talking about it. That's not a coincidence. That's actually how growth works. Every business owner eventually hits a moment where they have to decide, do I step into discomfort or do I stay where it feels safe? And the moment where businesses either break through or stay stuck forever, that's the moment. So that almost every successful entrepreneur has had multiple moments like this. And if you're shaking your head, I haven't, well, look harder. Moments where the next step required something uncomfortable. It might look like moving to a new market because your current one is tapped out, hiring leadership when payroll already feels heavy, signing a lease on a building that feels way bigger than you're used to, buying equipment or property that stretches your finances, acquiring another company when you've never done a deal before. On paper, the move might make perfect sense. You run the numbers, you analyze the opportunity, you talk with advisors, but here's the truth nobody talks about enough. Even after all the analysis, it's still a gamble. That's entrepreneurship. There are no guarantees. So let's get into this a little bit more. Most businesses don't stall because of the lack of intelligence or work ethic. They stall because the owners become paralyzed by uncertainty. You start hearing that voice in your head. What if this doesn't work? What if I lose money? What if the economy changes? What if this blows up in my face? So instead of moving forward, you stay where you are. But here's the irony. Staying stagnant is often the biggest risk of all. Mark Zuckerberg once said, the biggest risk is not taking any risk. In a world that's changing really quickly, the only strategy guaranteed to fail is not taking risks. You don't have the stomach for risk, you shouldn't be a business owner. Businesses that refuse to evolve eventually get passed by every time. Now let's clarify something. This isn't about making reckless decisions. There's a massive difference between being reckless and taking calculated risks. Taking calculated risks, that is quite different from being rash. Calculated risk means you've done your homework. You've gathered information. You've talked to experienced people. You run scenarios, but eventually you reach the point where the analysis is done, and then psychologist Maxwell Maltz explained it like this. Often the difference between a successful person and a failure is not better ideas, but the courage to bet on those ideas and take a calculated risk. At some point, courage becomes part of the equation. So sometimes we look at business owners who've made it big and think, man, they must have figured something out that the rest of us don't. Maybe they've Maybe they make great money. Maybe they have freedom. Maybe their lives look pretty awesome from the outside. But what most people don't see is the path that it took them there. That success didn't happen by accident. Behind almost every successful business owner or entrepreneur are years of uncomfortable decisions, moments where they've had to sign a lease that felt way too big, hire people when they weren't sure payroll would work, borrow money to grow, move into new markets, buy companies, reinvent their entire business model. In those moments, they felt the same thing you and I feel: doubt, fear, pressure. The difference is they leaned into those moments instead of avoiding them. Author Tim Ferriss said, "What we fear doing most is usually what we need most to do." Growth almost always sits on the other side of discomfort. So you see when you see someone who has built something big, remember this: you're seeing the results of hundreds of uncomfortable decisions most people would have avoided. There's a reason one of the oldest sayings in history is fortune favors the bold. Opportunity rarely shows up when everything feels safe. It usually shows up when the timing feels uncomfortable, the investment feels big, the outcome isn't guaranteed. Entrepreneurs who build great companies learn to move forward anyways. Jeff Bezos once said this, that if you double the number of experiments you double your inventiveness. In other words, growth comes from trying things that might fail. Comfort rarely builds anything remarkable. So how do you know when it's time to take that leap? Here are 3 signals I see over and over again in business. First, you've hit a ceiling. Your business isn't growing because your current setup can't support the next level, either with staff or your physical location. It could be a few more. Second, the opportunity clearly outweighs the risk, when the upside potential massively outweighs the downside. Third, the opportunity won't leave your mind. And I've had this a lot. You keep thinking about it. It just stews. You keep running the numbers. You keep coming back to the idea. That's usually a signal it's worth pursuing. So here's the reality, everyone. Entrepreneurship is not comfortable. If you're waiting until everything feels safe, you'll be waiting forever. At some point, every business owner reaches the moment where they have to decide, do I step into the discomfort or do I stay where things feel safe? Because the truth is, the biggest opportunities in business almost always feels uncomfortable. And the people who build great companies are the ones willing to walk straight into that discomfort anyway. Because the alternative is spending the next 10 years saying, I wish we would have tried. And regret is a terrible business strategy. So think about that, guys and gals. It's sometimes we think that entrepreneurs are gluttons for punishment, and I guess in a way we are. But the things don't come easy, unless you inherited a huge windfall and you're put into a great business it's already working for you, And even if with that, there's still some challenges that come your way, but you've got to be willing to take that risk to get to that next level and to keep growing. And it won't ever feel safe. There'll be some decisions that maybe come easier, but then the ones that really spur on growth, they're gonna show his head in that discomfort area. So as always, guys, I only talk about the things that I've gone through personally. I don't talk about things that are just hearsay. So I've been through this kind of stuff. I've lived this stuff. But go out there this week, be excellent, be grateful, be happy, and find opportunities to serve others, and just organize yourself and get ready to dominate. Adios, guys. That's it for today's Idaho Business Podcast. Hopefully you learned something new. And if you didn't, I've got a cheat code for you. Go to theidahobusinesspodcast.com, enter your email, and get my 20 golden rules for business. It's packed with my best advice, plus it's free. Subscribe, leave a review, share this with a friend. Until next time, keep hustling, keep laughing, and keep Idaho awesome.